And welcome inside episode 85 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers. Excellent episode this week. I am joined by my pal, Eric Arditti of Barstool Sports, Barstool RDT, to talk all things Baltimore Orioles, first place Baltimore Orioles. It's a fantastic conversation. You won't want to miss it. Before we get to Eric, though, we have two new apparel sponsors to shout out. Few Will Hunt is one of my favorite brands out there. They're a great American company out of Philadelphia. They're out to restore the dignity of hard work. They are by far my favorite shirt to work out in. It's the comfiest thing ever. Check them out at fewwillhunt.com. And then Shoreboy Clothing Company. Even though fall is almost here, Shoreboy captures the essence of summers at the Jersey Shore in their apparel. What's not to like about that? Let's keep the good vibes flowing year-round and check them out at shoreboy.co. Shoreboy.co. With that all being said, here's Eric Arditti. All right, I am now joined by a very special three-time recurring guest, friend of the pod, Eric Arditti. He writes for Barstool Sports. He talks for Exit 52 podcast. One of the best recurring guests we have, one of the best people I know. Eric, it is so great to see you again. It's John Means Day, so first of all, happy John Means Day.
Happy John Means Day to you. I've definitely been on more than three times, right? It's been way more than three times.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe on my personal pod. I think
that's
first
what
was
it
like,
was.
Yeah.
You,
me, and Brian, and then you came on
right.
to preview the season.
Yeah,
this is kind of like wrap up ish.
Yeah. We're 19 games left, so yeah. I mean, we're in the home stretch of stuff. So yeah, thank you for having me back on.
Of course, dude. Always a pleasure. So we teased it. It is John Means Day. I was thinking about trying to grow my mustache out in solidarity for this, but I didn't get the timing down. Back for the first time since April of 2022. I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah.
Expectations for John Means returning to an Orioles rotation, headed for a postseason berth.
You gotta temper them, at least for this outing right now. Again, people are like, oh, he's gonna go 7, he's gonna go 8. And it's like, no, he's not. That's not a thing. It's gonna, he's gonna work his way back. I'm hoping for 4 or 5 innings again, maybe around 65, 70, 80 pitches. I mean, that would be great. Again, it's like you don't want to see him with the Dean Kramer, where I think Dean had like 80 going into the fourth, or yesterday, or so. I know his pitch count was elevated, but kind of just looking to see where the velo is. I know the velo was like low 90s when he was in AAA, but everything they said was he looked good in AAA, and he felt comfortable, and there was no real hiccups there. So now it's go time, and like you said, it has been a long time. I was actually at the last game he started, and I was actually going to meet up with his wife and Trey Mancini's wife, Sarah Perlman, at the time. And we were sitting in left field right on the wall. And by the time we got the inning finished, and by the time we got around to the seats, Caroline had left, and Sarah was like, oh yeah, like John had something with his, I think they're pulling him out of the game. So she's going down there to check on him. And like a half hour later, she wasn't back. And we were like, oh, this is weird. Like, this is not good. So yeah, it's, I think they said 17 months. That's a long time. It's a very long time. But I'm happy he's back. It's awesome to see him. I was trying to figure it out today, how long it's been since he had been on. Like, he's never been on an Orioles team. I think we've realized that that's been more than 4 games above 500 ever. And now they're 39 games above 500, and he's just thrust right in the middle of it. So I'm happy for him. I'm happy for, his family and everyone else. So it's a good time to be an Oriole fan.
This is a good thing to think about, though, before he does start, because I think a lot of Orioles fans are thinking, all right, John Means, he's a horse. He's going to go out there. He's going to eat some innings. He's going to be the guy. But I think it's probably good to have a healthier expectation of, he hasn't pitched, 17 months. And you probably can't count on him to go deep into games at this point. But I think if you had to pick a team for him to come back against, I think the St. Louis Cardinals would probably be up there in terms of the ones you do want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're one of the biggest underachieving teams this year. I mean, they're not the Royals or anything like that, or the A's or, but I mean, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be a challenge, but it's not going to be fun facing Arenado and Goldschmidt. Those are 2 of the best hitters we've seen in our, the last, 10 or 15 years. But yeah, again, I mean, the Cardinals, they are not a good team. You kind of saw it last night. They showed flashes, and then they just quickly fell apart the second the Orioles kind of had any momentum. But yeah, hopefully he can kind of carve him up. And again, he's not a 99, 98 mile an hour fastball guy. He's going to kind of dice him up at the curveball, changeup, and maybe a mid-90s, low-90s fastball, and we'll go from there. But yeah, the Cardinals that's exactly what the doctor ordered for him.
I was reading about the 6-man rotation they have going into the postseason, which is good. But I feel like the other guys in the rotation, there's so much like the hitting, the offense of this team, it's already pretty much figured out. There's not a lot of question marks. We know what we're getting. It's the pitching and like bullpen and rotation, especially. And I wanted to talk about a former Cardinal, actually, Jack Flaherty. Tough.
Yeah, he's had a rough go of it. The first start in Toronto was awesome. And he's shown flashes ever since. He just can't seem to put one of these complete games together. I mean, in Boston, and again, that's a wonky ballpark. Weird stuff happens, but he was just getting hit very hard. Nothing, he wasn't really missing any bats. I think they showed the stat and they said in his last start in Arizona, I think they said he had a 0% whiff rate on his fastball, which is just kind of like that. That's weird. Like you would think that you could at least just get one swing and a miss. He didn't get any. So again, he wasn't good there. He wasn't good in San Diego, and it's been a disappointing I guess tenure for Jack Flaherty as an Oriole. It's going to be interesting. I think he goes. Does he go tomorrow? No, is he going? No, he's going Friday. I'm sorry, but Drew Rom, who the Orioles traded for him, is going on Wednesday for the Cardinals. But I hope he can turn it around. I want him to do well. Like I don't want to, not remember this fondly, but he's got to be better. I mean, he has to be. There's no other. Again, this is a team trying to lock up a division title. Like, you have to be better than that. So Flaherty's been there before. He's a veteran. He's a young guy, but he's a veteran. He's been around. He's pitching big ball games in NLDS and, big starts. So we kind of need that from him. And we need to see something and why they traded for him. So I have faith. I'm not like completely done with them, but it's scary to watch him go out there right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of summing it up. 7 ERA for a guy that, I mean, look, to be realistic, he was like one of the last pitchers available. So it was kind of like 1:50 a.m. at the bar. It was closing time. We're just lucky to go home with somebody that night. So we did, but now we're starting to the hangover starting to wear off a little bit, and you're like, oh, Jack Flaherty. Mm-hmm. But does it make it easier to palate knowing that Drew Rom hasn't necessarily been lighting the world on fire?
I mean, yeah. Again, it's weird because it's like I don't want to tear down another prospect or another player and compare the two. But yeah, I mean, Rom has not been good either. Again, I want him to do well. It doesn't have any effect on me whether he does if he does poorly or anything. I'd obviously like to see him do well. I've never met him, but we've had conversations. I think he's a Titans fan, so we've chatted about them a bunch. But it does kind of lessen the blow that Rom isn't out there with a .98 ERA and a .08 WHIP or something like that. So it hasn't hurt quite as bad as people thought it would. So
I'm just trying to figure out the playoff roster for this point and who's going to get on, who's going to be left off, who's going to make that playoff rotation. I was reading that Flaherty isn't really a guy that can pitch out of the bullpen. I think he's only done it like twice ever. So you're right. If he doesn't start picking it up here in the last couple weeks of the season, he might be the first one off the roster.
Yeah, I mean, it could be him. It could be Kyle Gibson. Which sucks. Like, it's going to be weird. I mean, obviously the win-loss stat is not a real stat that people, kind of use for pitchers, but he's leading. I think he's tied for first in the AL in wins with 14 or something like that, 13 or 14. So again, and he's a veteran. He's been around, but he hasn't pitched well either, since the All-Star break or his last 7 starts. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets left off and who they have. I mean, you're 1-2 right now. I don't care how you put them. It's Bradish, Grayson, Kramer. And, that's a very strong 1-2-3. Again, Kramer had 2 back-to-back, not great starts. Last night was probably his worst one in a while, but I feel confident with this rotation and hopefully, one of the two, Gibson or Flaherty, hopefully both of them come back around. But again, there's still time for them to kind of show us what they have and give us some confidence that they can, make a playoff roster and then that they can perform in the playoffs. So I don't know who's going to get left out, but it's going to be interesting to see who it is.
I like your 1-2-3 playoff rotation of Bradish, Grayson, and Dean. That fourth, though, fingers crossed, John Means. Also, here's one for you. free Tyler Wells. That's not really a question, but can we just free Tyler Wells?
Yeah, Wells is my guy. I really like him. Apparently, he's had issues down at AAA with the velo and his arm fatigue and stuff like that. So it's pretty concerning. When I had my event with him at Jimmy's, maybe 2 weeks before the All-Star game, and I'm like, dude, we got to get you to Seattle. Like, I think you deserve to be an All-Star. You're league leading in WHIP and stuff like that. And he was awesome. He was very gracious and gave some great answers. Then it kind of just all fell apart for him. And I know, they talked about the arm fatigue and stuff like that, and his velo is down, and apparently it's just more of the same in AAA. I actually did go to the game that he started in Bowie a couple weeks ago. And again, he looked fine. I thought he looked good. His velo was good, but there's something going on. So I would love to see him up. It just doesn't seem like whatever they were wanting to see is happening. So I'm kind of worried about that. But again, it's the same thing with all these guys. They're throwing a ton of innings. Wells has never thrown this many innings. Obviously, the COVID year, his Tommy John, stuff like that really put him behind the 8 ball. But I mean, he was awesome. He was about as good as you can get for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks. And again, slowly kind of started to fade. And you got to think it's some of the fatigue. But that's a guy, I mean, he's here for the long term. I think he's going to be a monster, whether he's a starter or they use him as a back end bullpen guy. He can do it all. So I'm with you on the Tyler Wells bandwagon.
I feel like he might be around for an extra year longer than we thought, just because I keep seeing on Twitter the rumblings of service time manipulation of, I don't know. I like to think that there's people smarter than me that can figure that stuff out, because I'm very dumb, but it does have kind of like that stink of, something's not right.
Yeah, but then again, he really was not pitching well when they sent him down. So I don't think they would have done that if he was continuing to, 6 innings, 1 run, 8 Ks. I mean, he was striking out a ton of people for a couple starts there, and then it kind of just started to go away. So I saw those rumblings too, or I saw whatever they were saying. I don't buy that as like this is why they did it. Again, I mean, the just his production kind of dropped off, and he just didn't look right. So that's what I'm chalking it up to. I get if people want to have not conspiracy, but if they want to talk about that, I think it's definitely something you talk about, especially with this franchise and obviously everything that's happened the last couple of weeks. So
we could have done a whole nother pod on just, the events of this year. We're still waiting to see the books, by the way. The books are still closed, unfortunately.
Apparently he's speaking at Micah in like a week or two, John Angelos. So maybe he'll open up the books there. The Maryland, Maryland Creative School. It's like an art school or something like that.
Okay.
I forget what it is, but he's speaking there.
That's definitely not the venue to ask him questions about the lease then. So don't even try it.
No.
Keep going.
Make sure it's not a holiday either.
Make sure it's not a holiday. We're here to talk about the arts. That's it.
That's literally what he would say. So I don't
know. I wanted to stick with the pitching though, just because the bullpen, it's had its ups, it's had its downs. There's a couple things that I wanted to ask about the bullpen, but if you just had to rank your Orioles relievers that you trust, you rank the guys that you trust the most to the guys you trust the least currently in the Orioles bullpen.
I'm going to try and pull up the roster here really quick. Just so I can have it all in front of me. Let me see. Come on, give me. I just want. There it is, roster. I think right now I trust Cano the most. Even with his kind of hiccup in Fenway on Saturday where he gave up 3 runs. Again, wonky ballpark, just a weird game overall. I think that's an outlier you throw it out. He was really good in August, really, really good. And again, he's really picked it up when they needed him to after Felix went down. After that, it may be Coulombe. I mean, he's been awesome too. He's been a solid, steady, high leverage lefty guy for the entire year now. Again, he joined them. I think he got to Baltimore as the team was running down the orange carpet. They claimed him as I was 8 hours deep into a pickles shift, on opening day. He came here very last minute. But he's done nothing but be awesome. After that, it may be I'm looking again. It could be Jorge. He's pitched great since he got up, since he's come back. It could be DL Hall, who, again, got the win last night. He's been really good. He looks sharp. Whatever they're doing to these guys in Norfolk, Grayson and him, I mean, Jesus Christ. Bottle that up. And if you could sell that, it's like Austin Powers mojo. It just gives them, again, they maybe go down there with not the greatest confidence, and they come back being like, oh, that's right, I forgot I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet. Like, I'm going to throw 101 right by your face, and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're like, that's what we signed up for. So Fuji's looked awesome too. You could put Fuji there too. I mean, his play in Boston was great. I mean, that's a series season-saving play. That, that stretch he made at first, how he didn't ravage his ankle or knee, is kind of beyond me. But if we want to put Cole Irvin in the bullpen too, I would really kind of just group all those guys together. Perez has been fantastic the last month and a half. Jacob Webb, there's really, I mean, if there's one guy who I don't really know who's on the bottom of my list that I don't trust right now. It may be Webb because he's just the newest guy to me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Jorge Lopez. Because again, he's been bouncing around and he's now back here. I don't know. I mean, they've all pitched really, really well since they've come back. There's no Keegan Aiken. There's no Mike Baumann looked good for a while and then he was bad. There's none of those guys. This is a very strong bullpen right now. And again, I think you're seeing it. They're pitching their ass off. Last night they were great. So I don't know. It's really a coin flip. It's very the margin of error for who I trust the most to the least is very, very thin. They're all pitching out of their minds right now. Just hope that keeps going.
That's a good spot to be in. Yeah, because usually in every bullpen, there's one guy where it's like the JT Real Muto gif where you see him running out and you're just like, God damn it.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
We don't really have that.
It's Keegan Aiken. Yeah, I mean, that was the Keegan Aiken or, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of the others. But yeah, I mean, again, everybody's been, they really, really stepped up the second that Bautista went down. And again, that's what they needed to do.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. This might not be the end for Jorge Bautista. For Felix Bautista, though, because I keep seeing this. There's a lot of rumors and rumblings on the Twitter sphere. Apparently, his UCL is only slightly torn, which that's an awesome thing. It's hurt, but he's not that hurt.
But here's the thing: if it's partially torn, and again, I'm not a doctor. I'm the farthest thing from a doctor. If it's partially torn, it's going to tear at some point. And I don't know if they went to him and they were like, hey, listen, again, whether he gets surgery tomorrow or in 2 months, he's out the entire next year. I've already kind of come to terms with he's done for 2024. He will be perfectly healthy for 2025. But a guy who's 6'8", 270, 80 pounds, who throws 102 miles an hour, that thing is going to tear. Your body is not meant to be that big and throw that fast and strong and hard. So again, for it to tear partially, like they said, and not fully tear yet, I have to assume that at some point it's just going to go. I mean, we've all done it with rubber bands where we just stretch it like this, like this, like this, and then out of nowhere it snaps. That's basically the UCL. It could happen at any time. And again, maybe they're going to try the rest and maybe some injections and stuff like that. I can't see him coming back and pitching this year. As much as I want it, I can't see it. I can't put myself in those shoes to see it. It does suck. And again, if this is him, talking to Hyde and Elias and being like, hey, listen, I will go until this thing goes. Until my arm is dangling and I don't have my UCL attached, I will go. That's build him a statue right now. Get him going. Give him the harbor, give him whatever he wants. That's a guy who you want closing and, on your baseball team. And again, it may just be a pain thing. If they were like, hey, listen, you're going to need surgery. If you can pitch through this, it's up to you. And if he's like, yeah, let me do it, then it's that's an awesome thing. I don't know if it is. I don't know if that's the case. It's all hypotheticals, but I saw the rumblings and all that. I can't see him coming back. It's going to be super tough. I want to be wrong. I would have no problem eating crow on this, but I just can't see it.
I also don't think that I would necessarily want him to try. Okay, what's best case percentage that we're going to get of him? 50, 60%? If he's able to I can nut through this. I feel like we just spent 5 minutes on how good the bullpen is now. Like, let's just use the healthy guys and not have the guy who could catastrophically, like, lose his limb halfway through an outing. Like, I feel like that's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, and the only thing that I guess is kind of comforting is Elias said that the doctor said he can't do any more damage to it. It's not like he's not gonna fray nerves or something like that, or lose feeling in his arm or hand. They're like, listen, if it tears, it tears. It's going to tear. It's just, it's not going to do any further damage to his forearm or elbow or anything like that. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know how true that is, but he's survived pretty, I'll believe it. But yeah, I mean, again, it's maybe it's wishful thinking by them. Maybe they're trying to deke him, or deke other teams and be like, oh man, we really got to worry about, Bautista in the back end, and then you don't, and thrown off. But I don't know. It's an interesting game that they're playing here with Felix and what they're doing.
I've seen this a lot on Twitter with the Aaron Rodgers injury news, where you have just like normal ass dudes like, I tore my Achilles and I was back playing pickup hoops within 7 months. I need average people on Twitter to come together and say, I had something wrong with my arm and I was fine in a week. Can we have some of those people come forward? Because I would actually like to see that.
I have read that they were like, you and I do not need a UCL. We can tear our UCL and like we can sit at a keyboard and type and we'll be fine and feel no pain. Obviously, I think they said it was like people who weight lift. Obviously, you can look at mine and your body type and probably come to the conclusion that we're not powerlifting.
We're not throwing some plates around.
Yeah. But it was like that in baseball. It was like a lot of things, you pull and stuff like that in baseball. So yeah, if anyone out there has torn their UCL and is like, working in an office job, if you're not like in one of those massive like sling casts, like answering a phone or something like that, like just let us know. Like I just want to know how it goes.
I was able to go back to work at Jiffy Lube the next week.
Exactly. So, did you see Kyle Brandt this morning from NFL Network? That he had to be not joking, but that had to be like a funny, like, oh, I'm going to throw this out there and like people are going to love it. Cause I thought that was a very funny tweet, but
I think
people were like taking it very seriously.
Now I need to find it. Cause hang on. I saw this morning. Cause he's like roughly Rodgers. I ruptured my Achilles at 39. I don't think this is the last of Rodgers. He will have surgery within the week, be ready to throw in the spring, play in the fall. I don't think he'll end it like this.
But yeah, again, it's like, dude, you sit in a chair in a suit all day. Like, that doesn't, when was the last time you went through 2-a-days? Or not that Aaron Rodgers is like doing up downs in 2-a-days, but it's like, come on, you can't compare the two. So it was a funny tweet though. I laughed at it.
What if though, because we were talking all about how we don't want to see Felix Bautista come back. Like, would it be worth it? Because Ben Verlander says if Felix Bautista comes running through the bullpen gates in October with Omar's whistle on the loudspeakers and a damaged UCL, that would be one of the coolest things in the history of baseball.
I tweeted, I think 3 minutes before the injury, and I said I may actually pass out when we see Felix's entrance in October. Literally 3 minutes before it happened. Yeah, I mean it would be awesome. Again, you want to talk about goosebumps, the setting, the atmosphere, the place would explode. So it would be awesome. It would be very cool. Again, it would just be pretty deflating if he throws one pitch and kind of slumps off the mound again and starts walking towards the dugout. And then we're like, all right, well, now we're kind of back to step one. So I don't know. It's going to be it's like Boobie Miles' uncle. I said this on our podcast last night. It's like Boobie Miles' uncle when he's meeting with Billy Bob Thornton in the doctors, and he knows that Boobie's knee is done. And he's like, yeah, no, he can play. He can play. Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And it's like, I think we all kind of know what the end game is here. Like, let's just, I don't know, pump the brakes a little bit.
But if he does re-injure himself, I have so many tweets saved in drafts where it's like, for those who are asking, I'm not okay. I'm going to do the Ben Verlander Shohei deal for
I did that. I mean, I made fun of Ben for a week straight about the Shohei stuff. And then 2 days later, I was like, I get it, dude. I get it now. Like,
you send him a DM. You're like, hey, man.
I tweeted at him and tagged him. I was like, now I get it. Because 2 days earlier, I was like, he's not dead. He tore his UCL. He'll be fine. And then 2 nights later, that happens to Felix. And I was like, yep, now I'm going through it too. But I wasn't
on the verge of puking.
No, it wasn't anything like that. Like, you didn't have to go up to a bridge or anything to get me down. But it was something. I did get my I did get the bobblehead the next day, so that's
I
still
have mine over
intact.
there.
Yep.
Yep.
The UCL is still intact there. So
We'll always have that. Yeah.
yeah, he's next to my Adley Captain America one. So it's a decent. The battery's still together at least.
There needs to be some sort of Adley. I think you should leave crossover.
There are some things in the works with that. We've had discussions. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we're working on some stuff.
Oh man, just like oh man, he'll have like the hat. What if he has just like the safari flap hat on and like a bobblehead? Like,
yeah,
why isn't that a thing? Slop it up.
Yeah. We'll have to. Yeah, it's a lot of brainstorming, a lot of workshopping going on. But
okay,
I'm confident.
Please keep me posted.
We can do some good stuff.
Two last things for you. If the playoffs started today, the Orioles would face the winner of the Rays and the Blue Jays. But like Texas and Seattle are just like right there. So like I'm gonna lump them into this. Out of those 4 teams, who would you most want to play and who would you least want to play?
I think I'd most want to play Seattle. Again, the Orioles, they lost that series, 2 of them here, I believe. And then they won the one in Seattle. But their bullpen the last like 3 or 4 weeks has been awful. They traded, Paul Sewald at the deadline. And their bullpen, I mean, we saw it when they played the Rays this last week, and they couldn't hold a lead to save their life in the late innings. And I was talking about it the other day where the Orioles really seem to feast when they get into the bullpen, that 6th, 7th, 8th inning. They really just kind of seem to come alive and explode. Again, I did no research. I did not look at any numbers on average or run scored. Somebody tweeted me the run scored. It just feels like, again, I said, maybe it feels like it more because there are always big moments. But again, it always seems like it's 3-1 in the 6th, and they got guys on 1st and 2nd with 1 out, and then you look up and it's like 7-1, and the O's are just cruising from there. So I would love to get another shot at them, knock them out of the playoffs. Would be a great moment after all this shit that they pulled this year with the Orioles and that dude Dave Softy or whatever his name was, King Felix and CS Rise and all that bull crap. So. I don't know. Texas too. I mean, Texas would be fun to knock out. They were the hot team very early on. There would be something about putting the nail in the coffin of one of the AL East division guys too. But I mean, knocking out the Blue Jays would be fantastic. But that means they won a series, I believe. Yeah, that means they would have to win a series. And again, it's one of those like you don't want to let anybody get hot in the playoffs. But I have different levels of excitement for knocking out any of those teams. But I think if I had to play one team, it would probably be Seattle. I think they're probably the weakest. But Julio would not be fun to face. I'll tell you that.
I feel like that would be, when the lights get the brightest, he's going to shine. But yeah, I looked up the standings grid. I didn't realize the Orioles were 10-3 against Toronto this year. That's insane. Yeah. I would like to play them. I would like to play them, please.
Yeah, they but again, that's a team where it's like, damn, you know what? They could really turn it on. And like, do you really want to face like Gausman, Berrios, Ryu in the not Ryu, I think he's hurt. Who's the other guy? Kikuchi, I think. Like, would you really want to face those 3? Like, that's a tough one. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't think this team really fears anyone. I sure as hell really, I'm not like, oh no, don't bring the Blue Jays here again. Like you said, we wax the floor with them. So give me any, but bring them on anytime, any place. Let's do it.
Last thing is that the Angels are, I don't know what the hell is happening with Mike Trout, but now they're reporting that like, hey, if he wants out, we'll let you out. I'm just trying to envision a scenario in my brain where the Orioles would be serious contenders for Mike Trout. What do you think it would take, besides the financials and them actually opening the books and paying somebody? What do you think prospect player wise it would take to get Mike Trout from LA?
They'd probably ask for Jackson. They'd probably ask for, Grayson. They would ask for the dude, what's his name? Basallo, the catcher who's now top 5. They would ask for, again, I mean, you got to ask for the moon. The big thing with him, like you said, is the money. I think he has like, I blogged it yesterday.
Like $500 million.
He has like, he has like 400 some, or not. Let me see what it was. I forget. I know it's 7 years left. Let me see. I have it up right here. He's 32-year-old. So he's owed $248.15 million over the next 7 years. That's a lot. 30-year-old who hasn't played more than 140 games since 2016. So again, if you could get the Angels to eat 400 million of that, then it would be like, yeah, let's talk. But again, they would want Jackson. They would want everybody. And okay. Obviously I don't think you do that because he hasn't proven that he could stay on the field and he could stay healthy the last, 5-6 years. So it's sad to see what's happened to him. Obviously, he's still a hell of a ball player and probably the best. Well, he's one of the best baseball players we've ever seen. But again, it just injuries have caught up to him. They would ask for the moon, the warehouse, and the Inner Harbor plus Jackson. So.
Plus Jackson. Yeah. Okay, well, damn it. I was trying to figure out because I'm like, hey, Millville, New Jersey is kind of close, and
yeah,
we can get the
he can make it up to the Eagles games in October. He always loves that. There's nothing that guy loves more than
deer season in New Jersey. That's a big thing. Okay, so we're not going to be tweeting him asking if he likes his crab cakes fried or broiled.
I know he likes crabs brought to his hotel room from Jimmy's. I do know that. He gets them delivered he has his family over to his suite in the hotel whenever the Angels are here, and he always gets a bunch of like jumbo crabs. I don't know about the crab cakes. I'll have to do some digging on that, but I don't think I'll be
throw some feelers out. Like, hey, Mike,
you can be a decent fourth outfielder for us, maybe.
Yeah, he'll split playing time with Aaron Hicks, and then maybe we'll talk.
Yeah,
okay, this has been incredible. Thank you so much. Enjoy John Means Day. Listen to Exit 52 podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Check him out, barstoolsports.com. Eric Arditti, you're the man. Thank you so much, dude.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.